Hello, you on the other side of the screen. If you are here, you must be interested in networking, TCP, and communication. So let's just start with the video. And in this video, we are going to talk about, on a very basic level, how two computers communicate and how are protocols built on top of it. For example, HTTPS. Now we are going to build a simple program which is in Go and will listen on raw TCP. So there is no application layer protocol on top of TCP. Now to start with, let's start by understanding how two computers will communicate. Let's create a computer here, another computer here. We have an IP address of this computer, for example, let's say 10, another one, let's say 12. If these two want to communicate over a network, they have their addresses and make a request to one another to establish a connection. And they establish a connection based on a port number. Let's say this computer starts 5500 and it makes a connection to the next computer on port 5555. Now these two can talk to, let's remove this arrow with a line because it is a bidirectional line where both can send data. Or maybe two arrows. That's even better. So now in network, IP address defines whom you are going to talk to, physical computer, and the port number defines which application you want to talk to. For example, there will be a web server listening on this side, and the other one could be client talking to that HTTP server. Now when we send data over TCP, it is raw data. I mean to say, we can send anything. It can be text, images, bytes, or anything that we want. And on top of that communication channel, the other protocols, which are application layer protocol, works. So in HTTP protocol, it sends data over this raw TCP. So now let's start by directly, you know, seeing in action how this works. So for example, I will use ncat-l. Now define a port number, let's say 5500. Now this program here is listening on port 5500. This is our one end of the computer and the other end is here. Now we will connect to this program on this port number using our, let's say, client. So if I say ncat and if I say IP address 127.0.0.0.1, which is my local computer, and I should say the port number where I want to connect. This is 5500. Now these two are connected. Although it is in the same computer, you can consider it to be two different computers. For demonstration, it is in same computer, but they are listening on two different ports and we are connecting from this terminal to this terminal using our TCP. Now we can send any kind of data here. Let's say GG. You see, that's the thing here. You send the data from this end and it will be sent to the other end. The other party or the other client will be receiving this message, and it works in bidirectional. If I say hello GG, it will work the same way around. It will work the same way around here. Hello GG. Now we used this ncat tool to, you know, create a communication TCP channel between these two terminals using this IP address and port. Now we can write a program for the same thing. We will write in Go, for example, let's say, first we want to listen on a port. So for that, we will use net.listen and I have to provide network. In this, I have to define the network type if it is TCP or UDP. And now the address, let's say 127.0.0.1, and I want to listen on port number 5500. This will return me a listener and an error. For now, let's ignore the error. Is the spelling correct? listener. Now using this listener, we are going to listen for connections. Now what we will do, create a for loop, and inside that for loop, we will say dot accept if we receive any connection on this port number and this address, we are going to accept it, and we will have a connection and again an error. Now we want to handle that connection, what we want to do with that connection. So let's create a function handle con and receive a connection here. Now go handle connection with the connection that we receive. Now here we are, for every connection that we receive, we are going to create a go routine for that connection, and that will handle the communication between this program and the on the others and to the computer on the other side of the network. Now let's say as soon as the mhm, as soon as the other party joins in, we want to send them a message. So for that, con dot write, and here we want to create a string. Let's say hello. We can send basically anything in this write, but we are sending just simple bytes of text messages, and after this write will obviously return us the number of bytes written and an error. But for now, um, let's write this message and directly close it, and that's done, connection closed. But before that, let's also print um, the address, connect dot remote address dot string, so we know from where we are making the connection, the IP address of the client. After doing this, let's run our program. Yep, it is running. Now we will again use our terminal to connect to this. Let's say now we do the same thing, nc ncat, and early we were connecting to 550, which was the other ncat on the upper side of the terminal, but now it is our program listening. So as soon as I hit connect or enter, it will connect to this running server, and the server will return us a hello message and will close the connection. Simple. Done. Now if you see here, it prints where we received the message from. Let's copy this and try to understand in this analogy. Now here the remote server has this IP address, and for our local we were listening on 5500. Now you see here the two programs were on different ports, and through the network they send information to each other. Now this client was listening on 550 server, sorry, this server was listening on 550, and this client opened its port 35822 to establish a connection between these two, and we can easily share any data between these computers now. So this is how raw TCP works. And if you wanna implement a protocol of your own, then you handle those connections, and what you want to accept, send, and parse depends on your logic. So HTTP is based on TCP, which parses the HTTP string structure and return you the data. So that's it. That's a very simple program. Let's try making some more requests, and you will see every time our computer opens up a new port to make a new connection which is available on that instance, You can see 560, 550, of course 58550. So these are the different port numbers which our computer used to communicate or to connect with this server. So yeah, that's the raw TCP connection and raw data transfer between those two programs. This is how computers communicate over the network. So see you in the next one.